Hi, everybody, and welcome to Alex Erm's Clips. Lately, I've been seeing a ton of videos on YouTube with titles like Single Moms Are a Trap or Why You Should Never Date a Divorced Woman with Kids. Back then, though, I had no idea about these warnings. If I had, maybe I wouldn't have ended up in the mess I'm about to tell you. I should have trusted my instincts from the beginning. That nagging voice in my head kept whispering warnings, but I silenced it every time with excuses. You're being paranoid, I'd tell myself. She's just private. Now I know better. At the time, I was 25, and so was Jessica. But here's the thing. Her 25 years were nothing like mine. By that age, she'd already been married, divorced, and had a 4-year-old son. Meanwhile, my biggest life accomplishments were owning a car and having zero baggage. We met through mutual friends, and at first, she seemed perfect. Unlike other women I'd dated, she wasn't into partying or drama. She had a stable job, kept her place clean, and was a dedicated mom. I admired that. After years of dating girls who lived for Instagram and weekend benders, Jessica felt like a breath of fresh air. I'll skip the early romance, but fast forward a few months, and we were practically living together. That was my first mistake, letting her convince me to move into her place instead of mine. "Why don't you just stay with us?" she asked one night after dinner, her fingers tracing circles on my arm. I hesitated. Something felt off about giving up my independence so completely. My apartment wasn't much, but it was mine, a sanctuary where I made the rules. "Wouldn't it make more sense for you and your son to move in with me?" She had excuses. "My apartment is bigger, my son's daycare is right nearby, and I've been going to the same gym for years. It's just more convenient here." I agreed. Big mistake. Almost overnight, the sweet, caring Jessica disappeared. Suddenly, there were rules, lots of them. I was expected to help with her son, pay for groceries, fix things around the house, and even take time off work when she needed me to. At first, I didn't mind. I figured, hey, this is what being a family man is like, right? But then I realized something. We weren't actually a family. We weren't married. We hadn't even talked about marriage. And yet, I was acting like a husband, while she treated me like a live-in helper. The changes were subtle at first. I'd come home from work to find my clothes rearranged in her system. My favorite coffee mug disappeared, replaced with one that matched her kitchen better. Then came the financial expectations. Suddenly I was paying half the rent, buying groceries, and covering Jake's extracurriculars. The most insidious part, how she framed it. "This is what real commitment looks like," she'd say with that sweet smile, while systematically dismantling my autonomy. I'd lie awake at night, wondering why I felt so uneasy when everything seemed so normal on the surface. Worse, I had no idea what her ex-husband was up to. She'd mentioned him briefly when we first started dating, but she hated talking about him. Every time I brought it up, she'd steer the conversation back to our relationship, how we needed to communicate better, how I needed to step up. Looking back, that should have been my second red flag. The first crack in her story came when I asked about her gym routine. We were lying in bed after dinner, her son asleep in the next room. I rubbed her shoulder, tight from what she claimed was a hard workout. "Which gym do you go to again?" I asked. "I'm thinking of joining one." Her body stiffened. "Oh, it's just this small local place. You wouldn't know it." "Try me. I've lived here for years." She rolled over, facing the wall. "Why the sudden interest?" "Because you've been going to the gym 3 times a week for months, but I've never seen you pack workout clothes." Silence. Then a sigh. "Fine. I stopped going. I just didn't want you to think I was lazy." "So, where were you?" "Running errands. Alone. Is that a crime?" Her tone was defensive, but I let it go. First red flag. 2 weeks later, her phone lit up with a notification at 2 a.m. That moment still plays in my mind like a broken record. I didn't mean to look, but the preview read, "Miss you." "Tomorrow, same spot." The sender, "Bus Depot." I shook her awake. "Who's Bus Depot?" She snatched the phone, eyes wild. "Are you spying on me?" It woke me up. "Who texts you at 2 a.m.? "A friend from work." "God, you're paranoid." She stormed into the bathroom, locking the door. I heard muffled typing. When she came back, she forced a smile. "Look, it's just my ex. We co-parent. It's nothing." Then why hide it? Because of this. She gestured at me, jaw clenched. You turn everything into an interrogation. Classic deflection. Strike two. The final clue came on a stormy Thursday. I picked up her son, Jake, from daycare early. By 6 p.m., Jessica should have been home, soaked from the half-mile walk from the bus stop. But when she walked in, her coat was bone dry. Taxi? I asked, taking her bag. Bus. She kicked off her shoes, avoiding my eyes. I held up her untouched umbrella. Then how? The driver dropped me closer. Jesus, why do you care? Because the nearest stop is 3 blocks away. Jake tugged my sleeve. Mommy always gets rides from Daddy's bus. Jessica froze. Jake, baby, she hissed, crouching to his level. Remember our game. We don't talk about Daddy's bus. My stomach dropped. Game? When Jake innocently mentioned Daddy's bus, the pieces started clicking together with terrifying clarity. All those times Jessica came home suspiciously dry during rainstorms, the way she'd suddenly develop work emergencies on certain evenings, the mysterious gym sessions where she never seemed to break a sweat. I started keeping mental notes, like a detective building a case against the woman I loved. The next night, fate forced my hand. With no parking near our apartment, I left my car at the bus depot, a place I'd never been. At sunset, I walked back with Jake to retrieve it. As we passed the last parked bus, Jake suddenly squealed, "Daddy's truck!" He pointed to a blue Ford, the same one in Jessica's ex's Facebook photos. Then laughter. Inside the depot break room, Jessica sat on a man's lap, feeding him fries. Jake bolted inside. Daddy, Mommy. The room went silent. Jessica leaped up, knocking over a soda. How did you? The man, let's call him Dave, didn't even flinch. Told you he'd find out. Nothing could have prepared me for what I saw, the way Jessica nestled into Dave's lap with practiced ease, the casual intimacy of her feeding him fries, the sickening realization that this wasn't some passionate affair. It was comfortable, routine. They'd been doing this for months, maybe the entire time we'd been together. The worst part, Jake's immediate recognition of his father's truck. This wasn't some rare meeting. It was part of his normal routine. I was the outsider intruding on their family dynamic, not the other way around. Back home, Jessica switched tactics, fast. It's not what you think, she said, pacing. Dave and I just co-parent. Better now. By making out in break rooms? We're family. You wouldn't understand. You've never had a kid. Funny, because I've been playing dad to yours for 6 months. I grabbed my duffel bag. She blocked the door. Oh, so now you're leaving? After eating my food, living here rent-free? Rent-free? I paid half your mortgage. And I gave you love. Her voice cracked. You'd never commit. No ring, no plans. What was I supposed to do? I laughed bitterly. So cheating was your solution? It's not cheating if we weren't married. There it was, the twisted logic. I shoved past her. Enjoy your real family, Jessica. As I drove off, Jake's tiny voice echoed in my head. Bye, fake daddy. In the weeks that followed, the full truth emerged like pus from an infected wound. Dave never actually moved out. He just stayed with friends during my time there. My rent payments funded their family vacations. The gym membership I paid for was cover for their rendezvous. The kicker? Jessica had done this before. What keeps me up at night isn't just the betrayal, but how thoroughly I deceived myself. All the red flags were there, waving furiously in my face, but I chose to look away because I wanted so badly to believe in the fantasy she sold me. Your gut knows before you do. Those nagging doubts, they're your subconscious picking up on inconsistencies your conscious mind ignores. True partners don't isolate you. If she demands you live in her world but won't enter yours, that's control, not commitment. Co-parenting has boundaries. Healthy ex-relationships involve transparency, not secrecy. Single moms come with history. It's not the child that's the issue, but the unfinished business with the father. Now, when I see those warning videos, I don't dismiss them as bitter ranting. I understand they're written in the tears of guys like me who learned too late. The hardest lesson? Love shouldn't require you to silence your intuition. If something feels off, It probably is, no matter how perfect she seems on the surface. I still wonder about Jake sometimes. That innocent "bye, fake daddy" echoes in my quiet moments. But the painful truth is this. I wasn't just a placeholder boyfriend. I was an ATM and babysitter funding their reconciliation. And that's a truth I'll carry with me into every future relationship. This story is exactly why we need to have these tough conversations online, on YouTube, anywhere people will listen. What that woman did was unethical on every level, and it's not just some one-off mistake. It's a pattern. First off, let's talk about the deception. Jessica wasn't just cheating. She was orchestrating a lie, using this guy for money, stability, and free labor while keeping her ex in the picture. That's not a mistake. That's calculated. And the worst part? She manipulated her own kid into playing along. That's next-level emotional manipulation. No decent parent drags their child into a lie like that. Second, this is why those YouTube videos warning men about dating single moms or divorced women exist. Are all single moms like this? Of course not. But stories like this aren't rare either. There's a reason so many guys are skeptical. Because when it goes bad, it goes really bad. Women like Jessica give good single mothers a bad name, and men end up paying the price, financially, emotionally, and sometimes even legally. Imagine if he'd gotten her pregnant or signed a lease with her. And let's be real, this guy saw the red flags but ignored them because he wanted to believe in the fantasy. I get it. I've seen enough to know that when a woman is that controlling, that secretive about her past, and that quick to move you into her world without compromise, it's not love, it's a setup. The bigger issue here is that society doesn't take these stories seriously. If a man did this to a woman, it'd be called financial abuse or emotional manipulation. But when it happens to a guy, he's just naive or should have known better. That's why platforms like YouTube are so important. They give men a space to share these warnings without being shamed for it. At the end of the day, this guy dodged a bullet. But he shouldn't have had to learn the hard way. We need more open discussions about female accountability, the risks of dating single parents, especially when the ex is still in the picture, and the importance of trusting your gut. Because if something feels off, it probably is. So, dear friends, if you're enjoying these stories, please give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more juicy relationship tales. Thanks for your support.